I show that I'm relevant today. So it's not enough to rest on your laurels and say, well, I had that quote in Entrepreneur magazine 3 years ago, so I'm a big time celebrity now. No, it's you got to keep relevant. Otherwise, people will think that your glory days are done, and people have probably moved on to some other expert in this space.
This is Mitch, and welcome to the RE Investor Summit podcast. I'm here with Josh Elledge, and we've been having a good conversation, and it got into where I was just laughing my head off. I don't know. I was reading the first line of his bio. It said that he's an adult with grown children and has an irrational fear of umbrellas. I thought that was a joke. It's not a joke. He's
I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't put that in there if it wasn't true.
So, it just goes to prove that no matter what your issue is, we can get it done. I can't list my issues, so at least you can list yours. I appreciate you being on, and this is a guy that turns entrepreneurs into media celebrities. So I'm interested to have this conversation with Josh because I've been doing this podcast thing for about 5 years, and nothing is as simple as it seems. I mean, this is a very complicated, very sophisticated genre that we deal in, very intricate territory. There's a lot to know about it, and anyone who's an expert in that field certainly has my attention. Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career before, life before. How'd you get here,
Right. Yeah. So straight out of high school, I went into the U.S. Navy where I served as a Navy journalist. And so I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii for 3 years, and I did video news journalism. My last year was kind of fun. I was actually a radio station DJ. That was my job when I was enlisted in the U.S. Navy. So kind of like Adrian Cronauer from Good Morning Vietnam was who I actually got to meet.
Really?
Very interesting character. But yeah, so that's, from there, I actually went into and studied family science and family therapy. That was my career trajectory, but I got distracted with technology, web design, internet development, entrepreneurialism, and started a string of businesses, and some of them failed and some of them failed spectacularly. And then about 11 years ago, I launched a company called Savings Angel, and Savings Angel's done pretty well. So we've, as a result of when I launched that, I can kind of tell the full story a little bit better, but, I've been in the media over 2,000 times. Today, I'm a syndicated newspaper columnist, syndicated TV consumer expert. And we've generated well over $6 million in revenue. And we've spent like next to nothing in advertising. Everything we do is just growing our authority and serving audiences. And so as a result, about 5 years ago, I just started helping other business owners figure out how to navigate those waters so that they too could start becoming a media celebrity, help them work with influencers, build their authority, build their influence. And that became UpMyInfluence. And so today that's a great, it's a great honor to be able to help other entrepreneurs. We work with a lot of folks in real estate, and we help them build their visibility so that, their inbound leads just go off the chart. Their conversion rates, just everything seems to improve when you're respected. And so that's our aim.
So, you said the term "up your authority." Explain that a little bit.
Well, yeah, in terms of the goal, so our company is UpMyInfluence, and so the goal is to increase our clients, our audience, both their authority, their influence, and then ultimately their revenue. So. I
think you said increase your authority. That's what you said.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. If you or I have, or the person listening to us, if they were to put pen to paper right now, and I want you to write out a couple of paragraphs about what life would be like if you had 10 times the authority than you currently do in your industry, what would you imagine that would look like. And you start thinking about how people would treat you, what kind of partnerships would come along, what sort of invitations would happen. Would you be speaking at conferences that maybe you just attended as an attendee? Would you be sought after by other influencers? What would happen to your conversion rate? What would happen to your your sales cycles? Currently it takes you
your price.
Yeah, certainly people would be willing to pay a lot more to get access to you. And it's not as though your wisdom needs to change. It's just your perceived value goes up exponentially. And today we do business with others over the internet. So, we have to really focus and invest energy and resources into our indicators of authority. And if you will, generally you find a very, very good return on investment from that.
Okay, so there's three main components in this that we were talking about, and I want you to go over those three main components. One was, and I took my notes here. What can you add to your websites and funnels right now to improve your conversion rate and revenue by 8 to 20%? Is that what we said? 8 to 20%?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So first of all, I don't even know if we need to back up a little bit and have a conversation about funnels, but you decide. But do you build funnels for people too? Is that part of what you do?
No, not necessarily. We expect that they would have some profit centers lined up. I'm happy to consult on product and kind of revenue development, but ideally, for us to do our work, they need to make money at it. So if it's somebody that's brand new, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't have a means to make money, well, look, you can start working on your visibility, and I can get you on TV and all these other things. And it's going to be good for you. However, it's very, very critical. Anytime we work with a client, we want to make it money. Some PR firms will say, okay, well, we're going to increase visibility and we're going to get you in front of X number of eyeballs. And then if you ask them, okay, well, but how do I make money with that? They'll probably just throw their hands up in the air and like, that's not what we do. So we happen to know all of that. So we operate a bit differently. We don't do contracts like most PR firms. We operate on performance. We want to make sure that our clients are making money, because if our clients are making money, then they're going to be around for a while. So that's why it's pretty important that when they come to work with us, that they have a way to make money.
So what's one of the first things someone has to do to increase their sphere of influence? What's one of the main things?
Yeah. So, really, if you were to imagine think of this. So let's say you're a speaker, and right now you're charging like $300 per speaking engagement. I mean, you're like baby brand new. And then you say, well, what would I look like online if I were a speaker that were charging $10,000 per speaking engagement? What do you think my LinkedIn would look like? What do you think my website would look like? What do you think my media appearances, what would that look like? Who would I need to be seen with? What kind of social proof would I need to have? And I think a lot of us can kind of get a pretty good start on that. The problem is okay, well, now how are you going to get that done? And that's kind of what we've chosen to focus on. We're not a full service done for you firm. We try to meet that that price point where we're a little bit more accessible, but that's kind of the idea. So one thing that I mentioned is your media placement. So obviously, if you're a small business and you've appeared in the media, well, you don't want that. Most business owners
don't want that to go to waste. You don't want that to go to waste.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I found, and this is a fact. Most business owners way overvalue the visibility aspect of media. They think, oh my gosh, I'm going to get quoted. in in realtor.com's blog, and then everyone's going to come and they're going to want to do business with me. Then you're probably going to be a little underwhelmed. Usually what happens is a few people are going to see you and they're going to come into the top of your funnel. And so then you're like, oh, wait a minute. What's the point then? You want to do media. The visibility is fine. And there's absolutely, obviously, look, we've done a lot of media for visibility, and that's important. But these are brand new people. They're going to come into the top of your funnel. They're probably not ready to do business with you yet. Generally today, most people like to build a relationship. The day of the one-page website that's nothing but a sales page, and here's the product, take it or leave it. That's getting really, really hard to make money that way. Today, we're in the era of podcasting, YouTube videos. So we expect that we're going to build a relationship with you before we ever give you our money. And so knowing that, it's really important that we provide content. Mitch, what you do with podcasting is brilliant. People have the opportunity now to get to know you. It's a great platform where people can see that you're respected in your space. So, I'm a big fan of using podcasts, both as a host and a guest.
Well, let me say, I've been doing it for going on 3 years. I'm in like the top 5% of downloads, which is kind of like the Millionaire Next Door, because you don't know where, until you read some books like Millionaire Next Door, you really don't know where you stand in the world. And you're a lot higher than you think you are. If you make over $200,000 a year, you wouldn't believe where you are in the world,
Yeah.
Like the top 5% or something like that. So I was equally surprised in the podcast world with, 15, 20,000 downloads a month, that you were way, way, way up at the top echelon in the world in downloads. Now there was companies that did a lot more than that, like millions, but they were in the top 100%. And they're dividing those things by very small decimal points, and so it drops off pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I did this. I opened my podcast with no expectations whatsoever. I wanted to see if I enjoyed it, because if I didn't enjoy it, it was going to show. B, if anyone cared that I did, and I had no audience, and I just wanted to start from scratch. And it's been a really, really incredible and unique and enjoyable ride. It's had its frustrations because, technology. I don't think they even had a computer at my school. I mean, I've been chasing the technology bus since graduation day. I've, never really all caught up to it. But I depend on people like you or the experts around me to put me in a position to just show up and do what I do know how to do. And so they handle everything else. And it's been critical. We're approaching $1 million gross income a year. We're quickly gaining on that. And I find that unfathomable, because I spent 22 years in real estate trying to make $1 million a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get on the internet but mind you, it's the right people. It's the right people. I mean, I got to be doing a few things right, but mostly it's the people behind me, people like you that understand the industry so much better than I do. I don't really care to understand it. I care to work with someone who understands it.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a big point. I think a lot of us, especially when we're starting out and funds are, maybe we don't have a lot of money to invest. You got to invest something. Either you invest like a ridiculous amount of energy and you're going to try and do it all yourself. That's hard. You can really, you can only grow so fast when you're trying to do everything yourself. The faster you can get to a point where you've got a team and you're surrounded by experts and you're investing in growth opportunities, well, the faster you're going to grow your company. And so if you're listening to our conversation right now and you're frustrated because you feel like you've just been stagnating in business, look at your investments. I mean, unless you've made bad investments, chances are you're probably not making enough of them. And that's the reason that you're not experiencing the growth that others are. So I see other people that, they are doing everything they can to double down on growth, and they do that month after month after month, every time they can. Those are the ones that make leaps forward in business. And then, a couple of years down the road, you look at them and you're like, whoa, they looks like they got lucky. And, it has nothing to do with, chance. It has everything to do with making your own luck by putting yourself in front of people. So, the more you can get on stages, the more you can serve, the more value you can bring people. That's where business happens today.
I have a saying, it's you can't get hit by the money truck if you don't stand in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So what essentially I gather that you do is you put people in the middle of the road. You set them up, so that they have a chance to have things happen to them, and then you broaden those chances by reaching more and more and more a bigger audience all the time. Give us a case study, like who's someone you turned around, or give us a success story.
Yeah. So we've got there's a lot of good stories.
We can do more than one. We can do more than one.
Great example. So Jeremy was a pro soccer player, and he started a soccer coaching business, and he started coaching kids and university students and high schoolers so that they too could go and play in the pros. And that went well for him. Then he started a business where he started teaching other soccer coaches how to do the same thing. So he developed some courses. And so here's the reality. Do influencers have the ability to make all of our wildest dreams come true? They do. I'm just going to level with you. They absolutely do. Look, if your book is featured on, Oprah's book list, or, Oprah's favorite things or whatever, of course, she has a huge audience. If you can get influencers talking about you, you absolutely can drive more business than you could possibly imagine. And so I'm not suggesting that you give $50,000 to an influencer. That's extremely risky. And I would say it's your chance of success with that is pretty. You have to take a lot of bites at the apple to really win an unpaid influencer engagement. But I like relationship building. And so in this case with Jeremy, we got him connected with a YouTuber with millions. I think it was about 2.5 million subscribers. And so they did a video together about how to properly kick a soccer ball and score a goal. And so they did this video together, just under 200,000 views on this video. And I can tell you that Jeremy's business it went hockey stick as a result of that. I don't know if it was long lasting, but he got it. Yeah, he got a serious spike in new business, and now this is an authority piece that he can share with other people. That he was featured along with this YouTuber, but that was huge. And he didn't do that, because he's just paying for ads, and he did it because we helped him navigate a relationship where it was something where he could do something for her first, the YouTuber, and it had everything to do with making her look good, serving her audience, bringing value, and leading with that, and really treating okay, well, what am I going to get out of it second? If you can bring value to people, then they will come, they will seek you out.
Interesting. So I'd like to know more. Like, what did he do? What did he do for her? Or is that privileged information or whatever? But
no, they did the video together. And so he reached out to her, and I think he reached out to others. We had found out that she's a huge soccer fan. And so, happened to live in the same state, I believe. And so it's like, hey, would you mind if I drove over? I was thinking it might be kind of fun if we did a video where, I could teach you. I think she may have kicked a soccer ball in a video. And so he just knew that, and he came up with an idea that was fun. It wasn't self-serving. It was something that, absolutely fit with the kind of content that she produces. So you have to look out for the influencer. It's amazing, Mitch, and I'm sure you get hit up all the time from just bad pitches from, people that want to they want to guest post on your blog, or, they're reaching out to you saying they're going to be a fantastic guest on your podcast. And you could tell it's just, you can smell sales on their breath. And that's just not why we do what we do. If your first thought when you wake up in the morning is, who am I going to sell to today? Like, I get it. Like, I know what it's like to need to make money, but you got to set that aside when working with influencers. You have to put their needs first if you are the one reaching out to them. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what we could do together. Here's how I could serve your audience. And I don't need any links back. I don't need any promotion. I'm just happy to serve. Like, if you have that attitude, I'm going to tell you right now, influencer engagement is going to be 10 times easier for you, at least. Because if you're just trying to sell, good luck. No one's going to want to work with you.
That's one of the things I try really hard to do on my podcast is I just want to deliver a bunch of content. At the end of the day, if they want to know more about the guest, or if they want to know more about me or where to hook up, we're not hard to find. None of us are hard to find. If somebody wants something, I figure if it's right, they'll find me. You know what I mean? If it's a good connection. Also, because I kind of relate it to hardcore sales and trying to close really hard, or trying to close somebody. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. It might work in our business, but it doesn't work in my business, because all I'll do is force people into a course or a coaching situation where they really shouldn't have been there in the first place. You know what I mean? Now I'm trying to make chicken soup out of chicken shit, and it doesn't work. So I like it when the relationships are formed naturally. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, which is refreshing to me, because a lot of people want to put in these squeeze pages, and if you don't buy by the end of this segment and all this stuff, then the price is going to go up. And I hate that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's insulting. And it's not treating you're treating your audience like they're a bunch of dummies, and people can sense that. And there are some great marketers. They do that a lot, and they make a lot of money. So can it work? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not necessarily, you don't have to grow your business that way. I tend to, I do believe that you can offer promotions or incentives. I don't see anything wrong with that. But when it feels forced and fake, and you can tell that the relationship is all about you just extracting money from the client, people can sense that, and they're going to run. So I think the better approach is, Bob Burg wrote a series of books called The Go-Giver, Go-Giver's Guide to Sales, The Go-Giver Leader. Give value first. Serve people, provide a lot of stuff pro bono, and invest in the relationship. It's so much easier. See, when you wake up in the morning and the first question you say is, who do I get to serve to? Who do I get to serve today? Man, life is just easier. You just don't have to stress as much. And it may feel a little less effective at first, but the money will follow. I promise you it will. Just be patient. Every business takes a little while to build up. You'll get there. Trust, take it from me. I've failed in business. I've had lots of failures. But eventually those successes come.
It's really refreshing, Josh, because I took that approach a long time ago, just saying, I'm just going to see how much content I can deliver, and see if people connect with this content, and see if it's helping. And then I'll read their questions, and then I'll try to get answers for everybody. And I had no expectation whatsoever. And this whole educational side of the real estate business for me has been an eye-opener. It has connected me with so many quality people.
Yeah.
It's kept me sharp. It's kept me at the top of my game, because I'm talking to people that are at the top of their game all the time within my arena. I've made some great friends. I've met people that I would have never met from it. And it's hard to really measure because, I gave some numbers here at the beginning. I can show what the numbers are, but it's hard to measure the total effect of it because there's other things that have happened that led to something else happening because of the exposure in the podcast.
Yeah.
It's hard to measure or even start to tie back. All you know is that 3 years ago there was X amount of momentum, and today there's 4X or 5X that momentum, and it just keeps kind of building. And I get a lot of input from a lot of different people, even about the educational side or about the real estate side. I continue to learn every single day myself. I think someone told me that it's usually the teacher that learns the most.
Oh yeah. Sure.
And I'm not arguing with that guy at all. I mean, I may carry 95% or 97% of a conversation when I'm talking to people that haven't been as far down the road as I am. But even still, your audience is so broad that even if only if one or two of them come up with something that you don't know, it's a revelation to a guy that's been in the business for 22 years. That's a big nugget,
Yeah.
Hard for guys that have been in the same business for 22 years to find a nugget sometimes. Even at a seminar, the more you know about a process, the harder it is to find the nugget at the seminar. So you really value the nuggets when you find them. And when you do find one, it's really, really valuable.
Yeah.
And so if you have a client come to you, where do you start with them? What's the beginning process? And I'm actually asking for myself. So we can make it personal.
So say that. So when we start with a new client, so usually one thing that we like to do is we like to just take a look at how they come across. So and think of it this way, the email test. So let's say that you get an email from somebody and it's unsolicited, but the offer, it's not a bad offer. I mean, it's otherwise, the person seems, sincere in their request. So how do you know whether or not to take your time and respond to that person? Well, you're going to generally put that email into one of four categories. A, you absolutely respond right away. B, I'm busy right now, but I'll respond later. And then you do. C, I can't respond right now, I'll do it later, but then you just get too busy and you forget, it kind of falls off the radar. Or D, delete, I have no interest in this whatsoever. So how do we determine that? Well, I think a lot of us feel like we're really, really good judges of character. Here's a secret. Everyone thinks that about themselves. Everyone feels like they're really, really good judges of character, and we're really, really efficient at sorting people. It's a skill we all feel like we have very well. So what do we base that on? Well, we base it on first impressions. What is this ask? What's this request? Then we try and figure out, well, who is this person and what is my connection to them? And so, what do we base that on? So I'm going to look at your name. I'm going to look at your email address. If there's a link to your website, I'm going to click on that. And now the fun begins. So if I get an email, I click on the email address. Then I'm going to go to the click on the website address. And I'm going to go to their website. I'm going to make judgments really quickly. And we all do that. Everybody does this. Is it superficial? Absolutely. But it's what your clients, it's what your prospects, it's what your leads, it's what everybody is doing. Your potential partners, your JV partners, your affiliate partners, everybody is doing this. We're all constantly judging. And so if you want to use a fun website, if you're brave enough, there's a website called Photo Feeler, which I just did. And what it'll do is you upload your profile photo, and then people will judge you, and they'll tell you whether or not you're. Depending on what you want, you could do it for business. For business, they grade you on competency, likability, and influence. And they're basing it all on a photo. And so it's...
I don't have a chance in hell.
And I was really nervous about that because then they can leave notes as well. And they're usually really helpful notes, like your background's distracting, it's out of focus, the smile looks forced. You'll learn stuff about that. but yeah, that's a really good. So just people are doing this all the time. So in our case, we want to make sure our job is to make sure that our clients are always in the email test I referred to earlier, they're always an A or a B. So you get a response, because there's nothing more frustrating than sending 10 emails out and then everybody ghosts you. And we don't want that to happen. So how do we get their respect? Well, the reality is your website needs to be, look, it doesn't have to be a big website, but it needs to be a professional website. And if you haven't updated it in the past 3 years, it's time. So design standards 3 years ago are not what today's design standards are. Then they're going to take a look at your social media. Does this person have any social proof? And so if they go on your Twitter and you've got 23 followers and one of them is your grandma, who I don't know what grandmas are using Twitter, but that's all you have to show. It is an indicator of authority. And in that case, it would not be a good one. So it may be held against you. And I would say, if we talked earlier about the speaker who earns $100 versus the speaker who earns $10,000. Well, if you're a speaker that earns $10,000 and you can ask for $10,000, chances are you're probably going to have a pretty big Twitter following, or maybe, and that would be, more B2B would be Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you're B2B, you better be dominating those two social media platforms. And if that means that you have to temporarily write off Facebook, that's okay, because you're not really going to be judged on that as much based on what you do. So if you look me up on Twitter, I promise I walk I walk the walk. I do what I teach. And so I'm very active on Twitter. I've got a big following, and I bring a lot of value there.
I was voted the top 9 Twitter accounts to follow in real estate in Forbes, and it did a lot of good for me.
Yeah. That's incredible. So it's stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff you're going to be judged on. And I can tell you, Mitch, right now, the person listening to us, this is so critical. You cannot overinvest in your LinkedIn profile today. If we do a Google search on you, you could do a Google search on me. You could search Josh Elledge. And I promise you, I'll do it right now. I promise you that on that first page, you're going to find my LinkedIn profile. Google likes to put LinkedIn up toward the very top. Yep, sure, there it is, page 1. And so someone's going to click on that because they want to know, well, I just want to know who Josh is. What's his background professionally? What's his experience? Why should I pay attention to him? So if you're working with the media, really, really important. Make sure you really take your LinkedIn profile seriously. So we do a lot of LinkedIn makeovers, and that's a simple job that we do for a lot of clients. It's a great start to a relationship where then we can get started on maybe working on their Twitter, maybe working on getting them a lot of media placements, and then we can kind of go from there.
So this is a revelation to me. I didn't know LinkedIn was so important. So
yeah,
I'm definitely behind on that probably. Although I have updated it recently, but I'm sure there's other things. So can a person like me come to you and say, I want you to specifically just work on my LinkedIn account?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We do that a lot. And it's pretty easy depending on if you're in the right industry. I mean, if you're B2B and your ALV, your average lifetime value is, $1,000 or more, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because you will. I mean, I don't control someone's sales. Especially if they're not working with us, I really don't have a lot of influence on your sales. But I mean, it's a no-brainer. And look, you can do it yourself. You can hand it over to a professional. And, we know the psychology of influencers. We know the psychology of media. We know the psychology of audiences. And there's things that we're going to do based on years and years and years of doing this that, you can read articles and you can do it yourself. And that's a great start if you have to. We've got a great article on our own blog that you could read, and we'll walk you through. You can look at my LinkedIn, just duplicate it. That would be another thing you could do. But again, I'm a big fan of making smart investments in growth because growth is fun in business.
Yeah. So what are some of the other, there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook. What else needs to be paid attention to?
Well, Sure. So if I do a Google search for someone, or you can Google search for me, one thing you're going to find is I've been quoted in the media a lot. And so as a result of that, do I look like more of an influencer because of that? So you can search, you could do a Google News search, and you can see that not only have I been in the media a lot, so I've got, like, listed here, I've got 1,170 results that Google has indexed, which is pretty good. But it's relevant. Like, a lot of these, like all of these results on page one are 2018. So most of it, let's see, one from 2017. But I show that I'm relevant today. So it's not enough to rest on your laurels and say, well, I had that quote in Entrepreneur magazine 3 years ago, so I'm a big time celebrity now. No, it's you got to keep relevant. Otherwise, people will think that your glory days are done, and people have probably moved on to some other expert in this space.
So I imagine all those media quotes didn't happen on accident. Was that a concerted effort, or is it just happened through a natural set of?
So I'll tell you that, especially, I think everybody does this, but in particularly, in America, Americans have this notion of I'm going to get discovered, then all my wildest dreams are going to come true. I can just go out and do my work, and I'm going to be waiting tables in Hollywood, and I'm going to be pouring some woman her cup of coffee, and she's going to say, I want you in my next movie, or whatever, right? We all have that image, and that's just not the way that it works. It's the Jim Carrey 1 in a million, so you're saying there's a chance. If you want to know how things go viral, if you want to know how things become successful, we need to be our own best promoters, and we need to invest in promotion and growth. And if you don't have if you don't have the drive within you to be constantly focused on brand building and growth, then you need to hire that out. You need to bring someone on staff, or you need to hire an outside agency or something. You got to do it, because if you're not doing it, you're just, from a perception standpoint, you're just kind of stalling. You're just spinning your wheels. So you have to constantly be getting out onto stages and serving audiences. Most of us have a lot of value to give. I suspect, Mitch, that if you were to put the person who's listening to us right now in the interview chair, they could probably bring value. So we believe that everybody has a message that could positively impact the world. So our job is just to help them become media celebrities so that they can have that impact. And we have a moral imperative. Like, I know that there are businesses that are going to die because they don't have the visibility that they really need.
So, we're running on, 40 something minutes here, maybe. And I really do want people to get connected up with you if they're interested or need the service that you have. I want people to go to reinvestorsummit.com/influence, okay? And learn more about Josh Elledge and what he can do. If you're if you're looking to expand your business and you need a bigger, broader, more professional social media reach, I certainly would recommend that you go by and see what he has to offer. You can take it in small pieces, you don't have to. I think a lot of people do take it in small pieces. I've always taken it in small pieces just because I was either didn't have the money or I was unsure of what I was doing and didn't want to throw everything at something at one time and find out that I was doing it wrong. So go there to reinvestorsummit.com/influence and learn more about Josh Elledge and what he can do with your outlook to the world, or how the world's looking at you. Josh, do we have you have anything you can give to our folks, or any kind of freebie out there that'll let them clue into a little bit more about what you're doing?
Yeah, if they use that link that you just shared, so you might want to share that. Get ready to share that again, and they grab a quick, let's do a quick 15, 30-minute discovery call. On that call, if you let me know that you heard our conversation on Mitch's podcast here, then what I will do is I will actually turn that into a coaching call, and we will review your social media real quick. We'll review your website, and I'm going to give you a handful of action items that are almost guaranteed to make you more revenue in terms of improving your conversion rate. Certainly, if you want to improve your authority or your perceived authority when working with influencers. And I'd be happy to bring you a lot of value on the call. Listen, I've been doing this a long time. I've helped thousands and thousands of clients. I'm really good at this. And there hasn't been a single phone call that I haven't gotten on that that I haven't been able to list off a laundry list of things that here's an opportunity. Oh, here's another opportunity. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to make you feel bad, but I just want to be very honest with you and transparent with you so that we can address these issues. My goals are the same as yours. Along with that, Mitch, and I would say, book that if you do have some budget to work with, because a lot of things I may recommend may involve you finding some ways to make investments. If you're just brand new, baby, just starting out, then as well, Mitch, we'll have a link to a webinar that I do absolutely pro bono, and it's 90 minutes, and that 90 minutes is going to rock your world in terms of getting you to understand the power of authority and exactly how to build it and exactly what to do so that you can have a bigger impact in the world.
Well, there you go. Josh Elledge is just practicing what he just preached. He's offering to give you 15 minutes of his time and turn it into an effective coaching call. If you'll just let him know you heard about this from the RE Investor Summit podcast, Mitch Stephen. So you're going to want to go to reinvestorsummit.com/influence, and there you'll learn how to connect with Josh and get your 15-minute coaching call. I have no doubt that it's actually, it's very gracious of you, Josh. I appreciate you offering that. I hope you don't get buried to phone calls. But, for those that are smart enough to pick up the phone and call, I mean, you're probably the first person you're going to hear from is me, because I'm
right. happy to do that.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be on. Any last words before we maybe sign out here?
It's a lot of people might be thinking, well, look, I like selling my thing, but I'm not sure that I want to become a thought leader or a subject matter expert. And they let that imposter syndrome seep in. I want to let you know, everybody deals with that. That's every expert. That's every influencer I know. I've worked with and talked with some of the biggest teachers with huge audiences. And I asked them, tell me about your imposter syndrome journey. and everybody deals with it. And so here's the reality. We don't, you have valuable content, something that other people don't. And people want to learn that. So the world doesn't need more thought leaders that are, they were born thought leaders. The world needs more giving, loving teachers. If you're willing to impart some insight and just give value to people, that's what people want to hear. And the better, the more efficient teacher that you can be, the more valuable teacher you can become. That really is the road to making vast amounts of income and having vast amounts of impact in today's digital economy.
Please explain the term imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is, even though I've been in the media over 2,000 times, I felt like, getting out on stage, a virtual stage, or, getting, being interviewed on a podcast, I felt like, the PR police are going to find out about me and they're going to say, you can't teach PR without a license, because that's not my background, but I had success at it. I've been in the media over 2,000 times, and people don't really care as much, well, in some areas, but, in my area, they want to know, did you do the deal? And can you show me how I can do it? Can I learn from you? And we care more about, did you do it, than, what did some university say you're authorized to teach? So Just be aware. There's a lot of shifts that are taking place. And, if you're passionate about a certain subject, you can step up and you can be that spokesperson. You can be that mentor in that field much easier than in decades past.
That's one of the first questions people ask me. They ask me, are you still buying houses? Do you really buy houses? I said, yeah, I'm buying 100 here. I'm right on top of that, problem. I know exactly what happens every day when I go out there. I know what happens. Although I have a team now, which is another part what people want. Is they want to know how do you set up systems so you don't have to wear every hat and actually get to breathe and enjoy your success. So I'm happy to say I finally figured that out. Haven't seen the last 300 houses I bought. Haven't seen the last 300 houses, people that bought my houses. But it works really well. So I think really, I'm really not fond of experts that are teaching just because they read a book, I think people are onto that. They don't want that at all. So find something that you do well, something that you're doing well, and become the authority on that. At least become the authority on the piece that you do really well. You know what I mean? You could break my thing down as like, well, I really don't know anything about marketing houses for sale. I mean, that's a huge, important piece by itself. You don't have to know everything about everything. Just be an expert on a vital piece, and sometimes nichiness is better. Nichiness is a lot better. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on. Everybody go to reinvestorsummit.com/influence and get you some Josh Elledge. He's going to donate 15 minutes of his time and turn it into a coaching call if you'll say that Mitch Stevens sent you. Josh, thank you very much for taking the time.
Mitch, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. I hope everybody out there listening is achieving their goals. Thank you so much, Josh. We're out of here. This is Mitch Stevens with the Real Estate Investor Summit Podcast. We gone.